A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the weekend at 1. Some of the highlights of this bulletin: we will be looking at the implications of the Kuresoi rally by Kenya's ruling Jubilee leaders. And the US expresses concern over Rwanda's move to abolish term limits. We'll also be telling you how Europe continues to grapple with the refugee crisis. My name is Najma Ismail. Welcome to the bulletin. Now, 2 people are believed to be trapped under the rubble of a building that collapsed in Kenya's Ongata Rongai. Rescue operations are underway. The 5-story building was under construction. Police and fire brigade officers are at the scene. Our reporter Jeffrey Kirui is at the scene and will be giving us details later on in this bulletin. Now, moving on, residents and well-wishers have begun to arrive at Kiptoro Shrine in Kuresoi, Nakuru County. They are attending interdenominational prayers held for Deputy President William Ruto over his case at the International Criminal Court. Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, is leading a host of MPs to the meeting.
International Criminal Court through their planned prayer camp protest rally. The rally is organized against the court's decision to allow use of recanted evidence in the case against Deputy President William Ruto. Today's prayers are being held at Kiptororo Shrine in Kuresoi. Along with Friday's diplomatic protest note against the court, this could constitute what presiding judge in the case, Chile Iboe Osuji, referred to as interference of due process. Osuji, who is a Nigerian, refused to admit the recorded testimony on the basis of the amended Rule 68 of Rules of Procedure and Evidence. He, however, admitted the evidence after taking stock of alleged anti-ICC activities in Kenya, which he said may have intimidated witnesses. If Kenya succeeds in overturning the use of Rule 68, the court could still use Osuji's argument to allow use of prior recorded testimony. In admitting the evidence, Osuji said he had noted the conduct of politicians in Kenya, institutions, and leaders seeking to prevent the trial from running its course. Organizers of the Kuresoi rally have sought to distance the prayer meeting from the anti-ICC activities. On Friday, Kenya wrote to ICC's Assembly of State Parties through its permanent mission to the UN in New York. The note protested at the retroactive use of Rule 68.
We're trying to get hold of our political reporter, Ben Kitili, to give us details of that particular meeting later on in the bulletin. Now, moving forward, Anglican Archbishop Eliud Wabukala is calling for sobriety in addressing the issues raised by Kenyan teachers. Wabukala wants the government to heed to the teachers' cries, saying that they have been disregarded for a very long time.
This issue of teachers was there. Successive governments have always tried to put it under the carpet. And I think that as a country where we have gone wrong, I should say, because after the constitution was published and we started a new constitution and a new legislative assembly was established, we have a big vision. Like if you are hunting for an elephant, we are looking for the elephant, the big one. But unfortunately, along the way, when the rabbits come up, we follow the rabbits, and we live following the bigger picture. And so for me, what I see happening in this country now is that we lost the bigger vision. And now members of parliament in their first sitting allocated themselves salaries. Everybody else in the society started looking for more money. The teacher story, which has been there for a long time, started to gain momentum, and we have not addressed it.
Moving away from that now, AMISOM Commander Lieutenant General Jonathan Rono visited Janale in Somalia, where he reiterated the need for continued cooperation from local populations for total liberation from Al-Shabaab terror group. Now, he was speaking as he interacted with the troops and toured the scene of the recent battle in which AMISOM troops engaged Al-Shabaab militants. General Rono described the troops' response to the attacks by the militants as impressive and their resilience in the fight for peace in Somalia commendable.
General Rono described the troops' response to the attack by the militants as impressive and their resilience in the fight for peace in Somalia as commendable. The general further noted that such callous attacks will not deter AMISOM from fighting to attain its mandate.
We are here for a purpose. We are here to assist Somalia to have a peaceful life. And we are asking the local people to be with us, to work with us, to help them. Because within us here, we are living in a community of our Somali people who have been harassed for so long, and we are getting the same harassment. I think it will not be long. We will not stop at anything except to see that people here remain at peace.
He said AMISOM will support the federal government of Somalia and the Somali people in restoring lasting peace. The force commander further cautioned against Al-Shabaab's propaganda, saying the continued spread of lies is intended to depict the situation in a negative light. He cited the Janale Bridge, which the militants claimed had been blown away, but is currently being used by both the area residents and the military. He was accompanied by the AMISOM Uganda contingent commander Brigadier General Sam Kavuma and AMISOM Chief Security Officer Colonel retired Peter Chege. Ellen Wanjiru, KTN News.
The United States is concerned about Rwanda's move to establish a constitutional commission to review term limits. The Rwandan parliament is seeking to establish a constitutional reform commission that may amend or remove executive term limits. This will permit President Paul Kagame to seek a third term in 2017. In a statement, U.S. Special Envoy John Kirby said that the U.S. supports free and fair elections.
These gift boxes are a present to Rwandan President Paul Kagame. They contain thousands of petitions calling for a constitutional amendment, allowing him to stay in power for a third term. Over 3.7 million signatures were collected. Now Rwanda's ruling party has backed the change.
Kagame has done lots of things for this country. Security is a priority. He's improved access to education.
But many question the spontaneity of the petition in a country where political debate is highly controlled.
I thought that I couldn't sign this petition, this form, so I pretended to go to the toilet, to the urinals, but then I left completely. I didn't go back. We know lots of people who are fired because they refused the demands of the ruling party.
Rwandans who refuse to sign the petition say they are scared of being labeled as enemies of the state. The government denies any pressure has been applied.
I think that it would be a big lie to say there were 3.6 million people who were forced to sign their names. If there are errors, we can correct them. But it's not the FPR which has committed those errors. Mais pas, disons, le FPR, mais ceux qui ont commis de telles erreurs.
Many in the West have voiced their disapproval of this constitutional change, especially after events in neighboring Burundi. But after the recent arrest of Rwandan intelligence chief Karanzi Karaki in London, neither the president nor his party are listening. If the Rwandan parliament approves the change, President Kagame is likely to be re-elected in 2017.
The World Health Organization has once again declared Liberia Ebola free. This is the second time this year that the WHO has announced that the Ebola-ravaged country is free of the deadly virus. The announcement prompted muted celebrations in the capital, Monrovia. Thousands of people died at the height of the epidemic last year in the West African nation. Liberia was declared Ebola-free in May, only for the fever to resurface 6 weeks later.
Now hailed Liberia's response to the recent re-emergence of Ebola when 6 people were infected. 2 of these victims died. Liberia was the hardest hit in the West African Ebola outbreak that began in December 2013. The virus affected more than 28,000 people and claimed more than 11,000 lives. These were mainly in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Ebola is spread via bodily fluids of recently deceased victims and carriers showing symptoms. They include vomiting, diarrhea, and in the worst cases, massive internal and external bleeding. A country is considered Ebola-free after 221 incubation periods have passed. But experts warn that even after 42 days, the danger is not over. This is considering that some Ebola cases are still surfacing in neighboring Guinea and Sierra Leone.
People should not remain complacent. It was the same complacency that led to the second round of the virus emergence, and people should continue to observe the practices to ensure that they can remain safe.
Meanwhile, nearly 1,000 people in Sierra Leone have been put under quarantine following the death of a 67-year-old woman who tested positive for Ebola. It comes 5 days into a 6-week countdown for the country to be officially declared Ebola-free. The quarantine will last for 3 weeks, provided no new cases are recorded. Guinea is still trying to contain its outbreak, while the World Health Organization announced that the Ebola virus has stopped spreading in Liberia for a second time on Thursday. Guinea is still trying to contain its outbreak, while the World Health Organization announced that the Ebola virus has stopped spread in Liberia for a second time on Thursday. It had been declared free of Ebola transmission in May, but then more cases were found in the following month. Zinziki Biku, KTN News.
Now, the former chairman of the Luo Council of Elders, Meshach Riaga Ogalo, is being buried today at his home in Homa Bay County. Riaga succumbed to kidney failure last month while undergoing treatment at the Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi. He was an acquaintance of the late Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi and at one time led a team of elders from Kenya to visit Gaddafi, who was also the patron of the House of Traditional African Leaders. Ogalo was one time elected a councillor in the defunct South Nyanza County Council. Our reporter Victor Ogale is attending the burial. Let's get an update from him. Victor, if you can hear me.
Najma, indeed I am here at Kisbi Shopping Center in Kasinda village of Kasipul area in Homa Bay County. And the burial of the late Riaga Ogalo began as early as 9 a.m. and we had mourners, which are included also ODM politicians, ODM and various members of the assembly from the expansive Luo Nyanga from Homa Bay County, from the neighboring Siaya County and also Kisii County and Kisumu County. And just to name a few of the dignitaries that are here, including the nominated member of Parliament Elizabeth Ongoro, Kisumu County Government, Kisumu Governor Jack Ranguma, and Siaya Governor Colonel Rasanga. And there is also expectation that core leader Raila Odinga may touch this, but that is yet to happen. Those are some of it. That is what we're just getting here from the ground. And the estimated number of here is more than 1,000. Actually, the burial ceremony is being done. The service is being done outside his main compound, his home. This is an open field adjacent to his home, and this is where the speeches are taking place and all the other arrangements.
Thank you very much, Victor Ogale, there giving us an update on that. Football Association of Zambia President Kalusha Bwalaya has acknowledged a notable growth in Kenyan football, adding that the 2012 AFCON champions are expecting a tough match when they play Harambee Stars in an African Cup of Nations qualifier match on Sunday. Now, the Chipolo Polo of Zambia held a training session at the Nyayo National Stadium on Saturday evening and will be up against Harambee Stars later today.
2012 Africa Cup of Nations champions Zambia are gearing up for a tough match against Kenya's Harambee Stars, who are thirsty for an Africa Cup of Nations qualification after a decade of staying in the cold. The Chipolopolo of Zambia, who arrived in the country Friday, are cautious of playing Harambee Stars at home, with the Zambia Football Association President Kalusha Bwalia, who accompanied the team during an evening training session at the Nyayo National Stadium, admitting that Zambia is expecting a tough encounter.
It is a very difficult game for Zambia tomorrow, as well as Kenya. I know Kenya is playing at home with home ground advantage. I think that Kenya has improved a lot from the last time that we have played against them, and we are wary of the danger that they possess. And football is like this these days. I mean, it's always tough.
Zambia goes into Sunday's match aware of what's at stake. All the teams in Group E are tied at 1 point. Zambia is ranked 42 places above Kenya in the recently released FIFA rankings, but Kalusha Bwalia admits that the match will be won on the pitch, not on paper.
The Chipolopolo of 2012 was a fantastic team, world class, in my opinion, and I think that we deserve to win because of the input that we had with Hevrena and the boys. But at everything that goes up, you know, at a particular time we wanted to do a renewal of the players. The same team that won in 2012 had been together for a long time.
Harambee Stars is seeking to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time since 2004, and they are in a relatively tough Group E that has Congo-Brazzaville as well as Guinea-Bissau. Abdullah Ahmed, KTN Sports.
Now, the match will be played at 4 p.m. at the Nyayo National Stadium. Now, let's join Robinson Okenye. Tell us about the Kabeberry Sevens. Robinson.
Yes, Nagma Ismail. It's the final day of Kabeberry Sevens, and as it was the case, you know, the most anticipated, you know, leg because it's the final one, and we have champions in waiting already. That is Nakuru Top Try, Nakuru. That the champions in waiting. They have been searching for this title for a while, and today, after getting their win of 8-5 over Homeboys, they were crowned champions before playing, you know, the final match. Because now currently they are in the main cup semi-finals, where they will be playing Impala before they get to the finals. So they're the champions in waiting, and KCB, who are the defending champions, haven't had the best of the season so far. They have failed to make it to any finals in the past 4 legs that we've had. And just to bring you up to speed is that the first leg, which was Christie's, was won by Harlequins. And then Ghana Sevens was won by Top Fry Nakuru. Driftwood in Mombasa was won by Mwamba. Then we had Prince Blue last week, which was won by Top Fry Nakuru, who are the hosts of Driftwood. Now, the Kabeberry Sevens is generally hosted by Mwamba, and today Mwamba have managed to register a win in their main cup semi-final, so main cup quarters, and we'll be expecting to see how they perform in the semi-finals against Impala.
Thank you, Robinson Okenye. Now, let's take a look at our earlier story where a building collapsed in Ongata Rongai. 2 people are believed to be trapped under the rubble of a building that collapsed in Ongata Rongai. Rescue operations are currently underway. Now, the 5-story building was under construction. Police and fire brigade officers are at the scene. We will be giving you details of that story in our subsequent bulletins.